All right, another fun day at the Gamers Den.
Yeah.
Yep, another great
Everybody
day.
ready to party?
Oh, Janora's totally ready to party.
Totally ready. I'm totally ready.
All right, all right. So what should we talk about this week?
Oh, we got all kinds of things we can talk about. You know, it is Pride Week, and definitely all kinds of amazing things and
Oh yeah.
celebrations are going on. And of course, it's
Mhm.
also Juneteenth, so that's coming up this
Yep.
weekend as well.
Yep. Juneteenth is actually Saturday,
Yeah.
which there are two big, well, not really two big things, two interesting things that to go. Well, one for Pride Month and the other for um, Juneteenth. For example, a lot of people didn't really know that Disney and the comic books and everything else have been at the forefront of pushing a lot of equality things, which I really enjoy. One of their new shows right now is Loki, of course. I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to check that out.
No,
People didn't really know that Loki is gender fluid.
Huh.
I did not know that.
Did not know that.
Yep.
Have you guys been watching that?
Oh yeah, it's only 2 episodes in. I watched the first 2 episodes. It's really, really good.
I mean, I got that vibe because of how the character is presented and how the actor presents the character.
Mhm.
Like, I got that vibe, and I love that they officially just kind of put that out there.
Yeah, and that's why I think it was cool the fact that they released Loki during Pride Month and the fact that he is gender fluid.
Huh.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I
Wow,
love
that
it.
is very awesome.
And I think what's really awesome is I think there's a good amount of people who are enjoying it who don't even know.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
The same, and that's the funny thing if you think about a lot of the comics. For example, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, how they touched on a lot of stuff dealing with minority issues, with police brutality, and so on and so forth. One of the things that was there as well is that the Winter Soldier, his character also could be bisexual. That is one of the things that they're toying with. And there are a few other characters within the Marvel universe that are that way.
Interesting. And, shout out to how people, I don't know, give freedom to the fantasy world and paint characters that might not typically be, I don't know, of color or of on the LGBT spectrum, even though we all are in some way. But that's not my point for this conversation. But how the sky is the limit, and it's only a limitation of what your own imagination is. So that's a long story to shout out what current Batwoman of color and a lesbian, which is really cool. Thunder and Black Lightning, another Black lesbian on your tube at 8:00 at night or whenever prime time is on a full network show. And who would have thought that would have ever happened?
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Sad part about the Black Lightning, though, they really are. It's a bad show. It started out so
stop
great.
it, Jacoby.
I'm just saying.
Jacoby's like giving.
It's a great. They started out great, and I love the fact that of Thunder's character, but it wasn't written well. Although I mean, I'm just being honest. But although, if you take for example another. Going down that same vein, Invincible, which is a phenomenal show which came out on Amazon Prime, did a similar thing with a few of their characters. They changed, the protagonist's love interest is now a Black woman and not a white woman. One of the things they have, I forget her name, but she is also gender neutral because what is her name? I cannot remember her name, but yes, they have a gender neutral character. That's a very prominent character. They also have the protagonist's best friend is a gay man who's going to different colleges to date other gay men. And It's actually written so well. That one, Invincible is phenomenal.
Now, what's that on?
Amazon Prime.
Oh, you
Amazon
did say
Prime.
Amazon Prime. Huh,
Yep.
I might have to check that out. I really enjoy the shows that have characters that are different than what we typically see, and that's not part of the storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's your character who's gay, but him or her being gay is not the plot. That's just one of the many amazing things about that person.
Yep.
Like going back to what we were talking about last week, where it's like, oh, you know, I am bisexual and I also like coffee. Or, you know, just like there's different layers about me, and I, you know, and things that you can have in common with someone. And, you know, the person can be a lesbian or can be gay or can be bisexual. And so I like those storylines too, where it's not so focused on that, but it's just a part of just who they are, along with other amazing things.
Yeah, it all boils down to that can't be the defining characteristic of that character. Yes, that character could be homosexual, but that can't be what defines them. And that's why I enjoy a lot of the comic book movies, especially the recent ones. A lot of the older ones were kind of cheesy and fell into a lot of the comic book tropes and stereotypes and were just bad. But what Marvel has done, DC has been garbage, but what Marvel has done has been phenomenal. And the reason I say DC has been garbage is because they're trying so hard to pander and catch up to what Marvel is doing. For example, what Marvel did with Black Panther wasn't about a black superhero just being black and black. There was an old you remember CB4 in the movie CB4? There was a character who turned into this blacker than black rapper, and that's all he said in his rap songs was, "I'm blacker than black, the black, y'all." But in Black Panther, they made the story about the character itself and not, hey, I'm blacker than black. This is all Black Panther, black.
I can't believe you quoted the movie CB4. Yep. I don't think most people even seen that movie. You took that back to Toby.
Yeah,
he went way back.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, I could have quoted the other song on there. That was what it was known for. But I don't.
It was cool for it to be blacker than black. I think that's a good okay. Stopping point before you jump off the edge of the cliff.
Yeah. Like I said, we're gonna do the other one.
Oh.
Please don't have him jump off the edge of the cliff. We can't have that.
No.
We definitely don't need that happening. Not now. Don't need Toby jumping off the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
As y'all were talking, I was just actually wondering something, and you would actually know the answer better than anybody else, Janora, just because you're over there in La La Land, over there in Los Angeles and everything. But that's
a Los Angeles shirt on today.
Yeah. But I remember the times of, I'll date myself once again, but growing up and definitely going to college in the 80s, the soap operas and the commercials were highly popular and all of that, but they didn't always tackle issues like what goes on with pride and LGBT community and all of that. But I was just wondering, do you feel that they're doing better with daytime television and with commercials than they've done before in terms of reflecting the entirety of our population, or are they still a little bit lagging behind?
Oh, hell yeah, they've come a long way. And some of these stories, as we like to call them in the South, that our grandma used to watch and our mama used to watch growing up, they now have LGBT characters and storylines. And who would have thought a soap opera would have ever done that? And then I know how many years ago, a handful of years ago was when the Cheerios commercial came out with the interracial couple, and that was a big thing. Now you can't find a commercial without an interracial couple. And then there's so many new commercials that have same-sex couples. And now, granted, everybody might not notice that, but if you are in the community, you notice it, you see it, you appreciate it because you see yourself. Finally. So I am so happy of the progress that we have made and that television has made. Just exactly what you said, Mark, to show all the beautiful spectrum of our society, whether that you're breaking it down by color, whether you're breaking it down by sexuality. We are a myriad of things. So it is about time that we see it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I'm glad that we're seeing it. But then at the same time, I'm seeing things that are scaring me. You know, we are on the Gamers Dinner is on a worldwide network, and I actually saw that earlier this week, one of our countries, and it's a country over there in Europe, actually went and passed a law that is an anti LGBT law, and that is the country of Hungary. Because apparently they just passed a
Oh,
new anti LGBT law ahead of their must win 2022 election for their hardline nationalist Prime Minister Viktor Orban. But apparently it just passed on this past Tuesday, and it
damn.
bans the dissemination of content in schools deemed to promote homosexuality and gender change. So there are definitely some countries out there that are being very hardline and all of that. And he's actually admitting that he has a Christian conservative agenda, and he put out this proposal that apparently has passed. So we've got to go to countries like that and fight
Yeah.
against those kind of laws and all of that, because definitely we're seeing that there are some countries that are still lagging way behind. But I was wondering what folks' thoughts are about those countries that aren't as progressive as certain other countries.
So, Mark, I'm so happy you brought that up. It is Pride Month, and I know last couple weeks we've been laughing and having a good time. And then I know Kara and Siren and myself have been talking about the Pride celebrations we've been to and how fun. Pride is also about fighting the power and making sure that everyone knows that the right to marry, for example, and today is my 4-year anniversary with my wife, is not
Yes,
guaranteed for all. And then we're not even talking about right to marry, we're talking about right to live, right to be who you are. And I don't even want to give United States of America a pass. There's things on the agenda like today the Supreme Court is talking about Catholic Church freedom of religion versus freedom to be who I am. How does that come up when it comes to adopting kids? And just there's so many other things. And that same super conservative agenda is alive and well here, still trying to find its way. So just because we see some more commercials doesn't mean that we're free and clear. And I do think that's a very important distinction to make. And I think that's also it's just an interesting place, right? Because people think Hollywood is this weird place, because we talked about that too. Like, what is it like here in Hollywood? Is it anything goes? So there's some people who think that we are just like Sodom and Gomorrah over here in LA. And they don't even want to come. And then maybe the people who are making the decisions to put these commercials on might not reflect their middle America values. I don't know. What I do know is that money speaks, and that the more of these companies that can stand behind with their money values that represent everybody instead of just one narrow way, I think the better. And know what's on your ballot, so you can do your part when it comes up and there's a chance to speak for everyone's rights and not take them away, especially if they're human rights, as in me being who I am. And yes, and recognizing that there are countries around the world. Mark, I did not know that about Hungary. And I've been to Hungary. Daggone it. With my girlfriend way back in the day. I mean, that's a whole nother story.
Well, apparently Hungary has got some serious issues because it's one of the few European countries where gay marriage is not recognized, and it's also in the country only heterosexual couples can legally adopt children. So you can't even adopt children if you're not part of the heterosexual community and all of that. So I think that's just wrong with the amount of kids that we've got around the world that need some sort of parenting and all of that. Y'all are going to put these kind of draconian measures on people. That just
that's a
sounds
perfect word.
totally wrong.
Yeah, it's like it's not hurting anyone if you're able to marry the love of your life who happens to be the same sex as you. And but these laws that are passing, it's like, oh, you're not going to encroach on us as a normalized, heterosexual, whatever kind of way, mainstream, but we're going to impose on your beliefs because we're afraid of it. And it's like we're all people. Everyone should have the same right to love and just be normal. But it's crazy how even legislature, it's like, these are our fears. You are bad, we are good. Like, there doesn't have to be that type of dynamic anywhere. It just boggles my mind. And yes, shout out to you, Janora. Happy 4th anniversary with you and your
Thank
wife.
you.
Yes.
Thank you. And Jatovi, well, one quick thing, Kara, you hit the nail right on the head when you said fear. I think it's all based in fear. But for my 4-year anniversary, Jatovi's daughter was the flower girl. Jatovi's son was one of the ring bearers, and Jatovi was the MC during our reception.
Toby was
Really?
all in the house and everything, doing his great stuff.
Yep.
So tell me, what was it like being involved in that amazing wedding?
It was fun till the bill came, but it was great.
Not the bill, Jacoby, not the
I
bill.
know all the
It was actually really
things.
cool. The fire show was neat. Kathy just walked by and said happy anniversary.
Oh, thanks, Kathy.
But yeah, it was actually really neat. It was a neat wedding. Being right there on the ocean, yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool.
We did
I was trying to find the
destination.
Go ahead.
We did destination in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So we knew we wanted to do a destination wedding. We knew we were 2 women. So wherever we ended up, we wanted to make sure that we were welcomed. So we Googled gay destination wedding. And there's a website called gaydestinationweddings.com. And for $50, you can get yourself a wedding planner. And it's just to make sure you got skin in the game. And if you pay that money, it goes toward whatever package. In terms of destination and all inclusive, you get the best bang for your buck in Mexico. So our wedding specialist shared that Puerto Vallarta is the most gay-friendly city in Mexico. So that's how we ended up in Puerto Vallarta. Who knew?
I am Googling this. That is so cool. Destinationweddings.com. Oh my gosh.
Yep. So they also have a destinationweddings.com. So you don't have to be gay to get a wedding specialist for $50 to help you plan it all. And it was great. It was, we had a horse, we had doves. It was 3 days of just magic and people that we were surrounded by who loved us and lifted us up. And we couldn't ask for anything more.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. Because everyone
Sounds like
has their opinions about weddings to begin with. You know, families like, well, you should do it this way. And I can only imagine how it is if it is, you know, you're a woman and you're getting married to a woman and everyone has their thoughts on top of thoughts. And so for you to just be able to have that supportive space and be like, oh, there's a gay destinationweddings.com and we want to feel safe and special for our special day. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it turned out that wait, Kara, where did that thought go? What am I talking about?
Well, why are you getting that thought together and everything?
Do you know where you get no?
Oh,
It was
no,
that
don't
important
say
thought,
that.
and no,
was
Janora's
so
not getting
good.
no.
It
She's
was
discovered the fountain of
so
youth.
good. Man, I'm trying to hold on to it.
You lose your thought. So sorry.
No, it's fine. It'll come back.
Do they have a sheen coming off?
I didn't hear you, Kara. What'd you say?
I said, are my glasses blinding you? Do they have a sheen coming off? And yeah.
You were no blindness here. Hi, Navex. Thank you for the happy anniversary wish. And hi, Fraser, who said hi earlier.
And Fraser is actually from Scotland. So Fraser is actually watching from Scotland. So he's watching us from Scotland and everything. And I know he's a regular viewer of a lot of shows and everything. But yeah, so he's checking out in Scotland. I don't even know what time it is in Scotland, but it's got to be close to nighttime if it's not already nighttime over there, since they are several hours away. I was trying to find the article that I had seen earlier, but I found a different article other than the one I was looking for. But it was about how members of the LGBTI community oftentimes feel in the workplace. And the article that I was trying to find, which I have not located, was talking about how even though we're doing better corporately, because apparently in the Fortune 500 community, 96% of them have non-discrimination policies that include sexual orientation, and 94% have non-discrimination policies that include gender identity. And actually 57% even have domestic partner benefits. But the article that I was originally trying to find was talking about the fact that a lot of times folks in corporate America don't feel comfortable letting people be aware of their orientation and of their lifestyles and things of that nature. And sometimes it even causes them to feel like they're suppressing themselves and all of that. So I was just wondering, and I guess it's to everybody, if they are seeing that in their corporate environments. I know that even at a couple of the jobs that I've worked at, folks that are part of that community definitely did not feel comfortable all the time talking about it, and didn't always bring it up in conversation. And I'm not even saying it has to be brought up in conversation, but some people were very much being I won't say hiding it, but they were definitely feeling almost tempted to not address what was going on in their life. We even saw that in the African American community way back in like the 60s and 70s, when folks that might be light skinned or able to quote unquote pass did that and everything. But I was just wondering if we all thoughts on folks that are feeling not comfortable talking about it in that work environment.
I know for me, can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
That's better.
Is it
That's a lot
better?
better. Yeah.
Oh, so I had to click my already existing settings. I guess my computer didn't think I was serious. So I know that I didn't come out when I wanted to because of the companies I worked for. Because especially at the last company I worked for, because I just felt that if I were to, be out in public with someone or was on a site, someone would see it and then they would be like, oh, Kara's, looking for women too. And then at the same time, I'd be like, well, wouldn't you be looking for women too if you're on sites or whatever, So, but I felt like I didn't feel safe. And maybe it was my own preconceived notion of like, are you really inclusive? Are you really like walking the walk and talking the talk? And that's kind of a fear. Like, I love that companies, especially around here, they're like big into showing rainbows and everything, and that's good. And then on the other hand, it's like internally, is it really good? Like, are you really okay with it? And I don't know. So I think it's just kind of a balance to work through. On one hand, it's exciting to see all the exposure, and then on the other hand, just hoping that they're walking the walk.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Brandon Scott.
Yeah. And
So I was just going to say it's been a long time since I've been in corporate America. And the last time I was in corporate America was 20 years ago, before I found a new version of myself, or evolved to the beautiful bisexual woman that I am. But what I want to say, though, is just last year, I was invited to be the keynote virtual speaker, because it was during the pandemic, for the Pride celebration for this a big company called Avalara. And what the difference is, I think, Karen, I think this is important for other companies. It's one thing to have a policy in place in HR that's anti-discrimination, but what does your culture say? So this particular company, shout out again to Avalara, they do tax software globally, and it was such an honor to be there. But what they have is an actual organization within the company that is able to make sure that what you say on paper does come alive. Like, are we truly inclusive? What are some programs that we can have, or some things to implement to make everyone feel comfortable? And it's not just from a boardroom position. It's people who are actually walking in those shoes, helping create the culture and create these rules to make everyone welcome. So I hope that companies continue to not just have it on paper, but really make sure that they find a way to fulfill it. And on top of that, oh shoot, did it just go again? Oh.
You're like Dory.
You
It's so cute. It's like story
had
from Finding Nemo.
I had my book club last night.
You were
and I swear my
acting
book
just
club
like
is
your
starting.
daddy.
Man, it was so good though. Both of my I had my book club is turning into a wine club, and here in LA it's 9:00 in the morning. So I still think half my brain
You
is
were
on
acting
wine.
like your daddy.
Oh,
That's what it
no, it
is.
was so
Just wait
good.
till I tell
Coach,
mom
oh
and
no,
daddy how good it is.
no, this is it. This is it. Oh, I'm so glad this came because this is really important. And again, I feel like this is something a lot of people don't know about if it doesn't directly affect them. So the Equality Act is on the table now in government, in the Senate, and I can't even really speak eloquently about it, but I know that all of these provisions that companies individually are putting in place, this is a way for federally, for it to be a law to not discriminate against people in the LGBT plus community. You would think it's a natural thing, but it has to be a law in place because there are still some places that refuse to sell or to hire people like me, or to whether it's hire, but let me rent from you. All of these are still not federally protected. So I'm excited that Biden and Harris are in office because that is top on their agenda in terms of passing the Equality Act.
They're reversing some good things and upholding things that were previously reversed. And that's pretty good because, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all humans. And,
Right.
You were talking about compassion a lot last week too. And just like laws need to be in place so much. And then respecting that and just, I'm human, you're human. And just having that vibe in the workplace as well. That like even if there is someone in the workplace who is in the LGBTQIA community, and you don't, it's important to be able to just have a compassionate workplace vibe. And so amazing. Yeah, there needs to be something nationally. Like, come on, guys. Humans are humans. And that's
the sad part is that a lot of this stems from religion, and again, what we talked about prior, the lack of knowledge, having that ignorance towards somebody, and what it actually is, who that individual is, and not knowing. But what you were just talking about in terms of the equality and everything, Avalera, Janora, I just want to touch on a few things. Avalera, were you talking about the one in Durham?
Yeah, there's a branch in Durham.
Yeah, there is a branch in Durham, and that one actually is a phenomenal place. The guy who came and set it up, I can never remember his name. Young black guy.
Ollie Goings?
Yes,
Ollie
I think
Goings?
it is.
He
Really
is a classmate of mine from the School of Science and Math.
Yeah, he when they were setting up that building, he was like, "Hey, look, come in. I want to show you what we got on the inside." They got this huge cafeteria with, I mean, it's not like your student cafeteria in college or anything. No, it's a beautiful place. Good Lord. Everything is like your Starbucks. It's nice. And then they've got a spin room upstairs.
They have
They've
a
got
spin room?
wine. Yes, they've got a spin room in that building. They've got a wine room in that building.
A wine room.
Yes, it is. In the very
you can have your book club there, Janora.
Yeah, it is super nice, and I mean the people in there are really cool, and they are doing like a lot of other companies or some of the other companies, how you have this super huge campus or the super huge building and really have the relaxation area. I wish more companies would do that, because you've got like Googles, your Amazons, your Apples, Avaleras, and some of the McKinney and some of these other bigger places have these things. Sadly, I mean, some of the other bigger places have issues with equality and so on and so forth. But to get back to talking about some of the good things that are going on, is that the Department of Education just yesterday extended Title IX rights to transgender individuals, which is phenomenal.
Wow. That's big.
So hopefully that beats back the whole push against transgender individuals competing in the sport that they identify with. Hopefully that'll fight that back. I'm not sure, because currently I like to go on the HRC or the HRC.com, the Human Rights Campaign. Phenomenal job. There was a young lady named Jody who I knew for a long time. We did some work together on a lot of the events here locally. She worked at McKinney, and then she went and started working for the Human Rights Campaign. I don't know if you know her or not. I should introduce you guys. She's good people, real good people. But they posted a lot of things that are going on, the different legislations that are happening currently that we've still got to fight against. For example, they point out there are more than 250 anti-LGBTQ bills have been introduced in state legislatures across the country in 2021.
Oh, wow. Just this year.
Just 1 year?
Just this year. I mean, it's nuts, the stuff that people are trying to do. 3 anti-trans sports bans in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, and they cannot even name a problem with transgender individuals in sports. They can't.
Well, a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's an unfair advantage because you're born a different gender or whatever. And it's like, well, there are different types of bodies with everyone. I'm a woman, and my frame is different from Janora's frame, and we're both women. Mark Lee and Jacoby, your bodies are different from each other, and you're both male. And so I just think it's crazy. And also, if we just accept people and their journey to be transgender, because that is incredibly brave and incredibly public, because you're transitioning and everyone notices. And if you support the process of this person wanting to be transgender, then they're able to get the hormone blockers available that they need to help with this transition. And sooner rather than later, and building all that shade. So it's like just the whole notion of, well, it's an unfair advantage physiologically. No, it's not. And I just think that's insane.
The crazy argument the argument that I find the most craziest. That's not finesse.
The craziest.
Yeah, the craziest argument.
No, that means it's super damn crazy.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah, it could be the most craziest.
The one that kills me all the time is the argument saying we need to protect women. And I get tired of hearing that argument because, and I see it's already upset Kara because she's punched her microphone. But that argument,
a cicada.
That argument always kills me because, one, then you're saying that women aren't able to compete. Then you're saying that you haven't looked into any, because there's no data saying that women quit sports because they raced against or are afraid of racing against a transgender female. They're also they're never pointing out that, okay, we want to protect women against men in sports. Well, okay, what about a transgender man competing against other men? If you just already say that, well, that transgender female is a male. Well, what about a transgender male? Are you saying that that's a female, but you're okay with that transgender male competing against other males, but not so that logic just never is sound, and it just sounds so stupid, but people just don't listen to themselves when they talk about that stuff.
Yeah, it's like it's covering up the problem and the fact that the patriarchy, the systemic problem of just patriarchy and just these outdated beliefs in general is that these laws and these people have an issue with women. They just have an issue with women, period. And it's just another excuse to police women, no matter what kind of woman, transgender or cisgendered woman. It's crazy. And also with this legislature between transgender people in sports, women in general are subjected to genital checks, which is dangerous.
Oh,
and scary.
no.
Yeah.
It's like if you are a tall woman with more defined features, then regardless of if there's any evidence that you were ever a man, you will be checked, which can lead to sexual assault and abuse. And that is dangerous. It's like, no, let's just call it as it is and say that this is another excuse to have a war against women. And I know that sounds bold and polarizing, but it's just insane.
And that goes into another. See, these are the crazy things about these arguments against. Oh well, and the whole religious stuff and everything else. The way of that hatred that's there.
And Jacoby, the other thing that goes on in that same regards is sometimes it's simple things that we don't address as well. Because I'm thinking about the fact that too often we don't let people give their proper pronouns, and that's one of the things that transgender people face is, there are certain pronouns that they're supposed to be called by, and too often they are feeling attacked because you're using the incorrect pronoun. And oftentimes it's also feeling like, and I've actually worked with some folks that were in that transition phase and everything, and they were talking about some of the inappropriate questions that they would get, because sometimes it would even cause them to become very isolated. Because I know that at one place I worked at, Gabby was very much isolated because she was feeling like she was not getting the support that she needed and everything.
To go along with a little bit of that, but mainly the patriarchy notion that Kara brought up. If you think about it, and this, I guess, takes kind of a blue side of things, or so. For example, guys or men find two men kissing icky. They love it when two women kiss. So they hate homosexuality unless it's something that they find sexually appealing.
Yeah, because some people just love the whole imagery of two cute females hitting each other with pillows and lingerie. Like, that's what people think.
Yeah. It's wild.
And it's weird for that to be projected on you too. It's like, go away.
But if you think about it, that's another.
I do that in real life. That's weird.
That's one of those hypocrisies. The same with, okay, well, we're trying to protect women. Okay, well, you're just going to ogle and this whole sexual thing that you see about women, but you find it icky with men.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just insane, because if you ask, and I'm probably going to get myself in trouble with some of my friends and everything out there, but if you ask a lot of guys their ultimate fantasy, they will tell you that their ultimate fantasy is a three-way and things along those lines. And you can't have that without having the involvement of the lesbian couple. And most people in that relationship are not going to want to be involved in that in the first place. So, like I said, that's just my philosophy about it. But you've got folks that would call that their ultimate fantasy and everything. So it plays back to what you were talking about, Jacoby. It's very much of a double standard. It's a very much of a double standard that exists out there, and it's not even a realistic double standard.
And I will say this is kind of odd. We're having a sex conversation, and I got my sister on. It's weird.
Notice I've been very quiet in my box. I have not peeped a word in my box. I'm just waiting for the next topic to come. That's also posted. So yes, I'm
in my area, there's this thing called a three-way, and it's not sexual at all. It's skyline chili, and there's spaghetti with chili and cheese on top.
That sounds delicious, Kara.
That sounds good. It sounds very good.
We could do a four-way, which adds onions. And if you want to get beyond insane, there's this thing called a 5-way, and that adds beans.
But I do have to put Jacoby on the spot. It has nothing to do with his sister. I have to put Jacoby on the spot. It has nothing to do with his sister or anything else. But I do have to put him on the spot about a group of the society, and it's both the group that is professional and also a group that is just people doing it for a hobby or because they can do it in their homes and everything. And that's the fact that most people in the LGBTI plus community oftentimes complain about the fact that they have heard way too many lesbian and gay jokes, bisexual jokes, and transgender jokes, and they oftentimes are taking offense at that. So if I can put you on the spot, Jacoby, how do you even deal with that? Because I know that that does exist in both the improv and the comedy world, where a lot of times folks are taken back by some of the jokes, but it's not even done all the time by professional comedians. It can also just be folks telling jokes in the workplace, and they're not even thinking about the fact that somebody in that workplace might be part of that community and take offense to what the joke is.
So you're talking about, well, actually, I think you're talking about exactly what, well, some comedians have issue, and actually some talk show hosts. Charles Barkley brought this up and actually went on some tirade about, well, I can't say the jokes that I used to say. Well, change. I mean, learn.
Hilarious crap to say.
It's evolution. And the thing is, in comedy and in doing, and I guess, Janora, you can, Janora, you should be able to attest to this too. In writing and in plays and in TV shows, you have to adapt to the times. So you have to be able to change what you're talking about to not really offend everybody. To include everybody in the joke is one thing. To actually joke about somebody without them being included, that's bullying. So there's a way to make stuff inclusive, even with fat jokes. For example, I could go on stage and probably say a black joke. Mm-hmm. Get away with it easy. Kara probably couldn't, but she could say
not.
but
no.
but there is a way that she could, a la Tosh.0. However, again, if you look at Tosh has had some troubles, but he had to figure it out. George Carlin, who's considered one of the best comedians, he had issues with that. Robin Williams had issues, but he had to change what he was talking about, and that's just all it is.
Well, I think there are a couple different things in this conversation. I think one, I do agree that we have gone completely overboard with cancel culture, cancel people, cancel everything, and I think there definitely is an area that is a bit too sensitive. However, I think everybody has a right to call out somebody for some bullshit that they say that isn't funny or that is offensive, because maybe they don't know. And I think, Jacoby, in terms of your changing, I agree. When you know better, you do better. Right. And understanding, like that joke that you told in 1990 and used the F word, as in FAGGOT, right? That might have been a word that was said. Is it from hate? And if it's from hate, we canceling you, whatever. But if it's not, and you just think it's funny, and that's just because other people used it, now it's 2020. We know that is absolutely hurtful and inappropriate. That's when you need to change. And if you don't, then you're putting yourself out there to be canceled, and I will cancel you. And with this whole like cancel, not cancel, I think the most important thing is to give people room to change and room to grow. Like, fine, I might call you out and put you on notice, and you have an opportunity to be like, man, Janora, I really didn't know that was hurtful to you and your community. Or you could be like, I don't care, that's my joke, and it's funny. Then I can choose not to watch you. But it's all just a very weird, oversensitive, appreciatively outspoken, like it's the same world we're living in. Like, so how do we learn to communicate? How do we give people space to grow and to do better? And how do we let people know when things aren't appropriate at all?
Yeah, like in middle school, when you just say a bunch of like insanely inappropriate things because that's what you do in middle school. And then people call you on it and they're like, do you know what that means? And you're like, no, but it sounded offensive. And people are like, yeah, it is. Don't. It's like when you hear middle schoolers just go crazy like that, and then understanding that, hey, maybe like, do you know what that means? And then do you understand how that can be hurtful? The power of choosing to understand that is like, that's the difference, and that's what's important. And yeah, if you don't want to learn or grow from it, then cancel all the way. That's when you're like, cancel.
It kind of boils back to, again, that's why I always try and point out that we are all ignorant in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
We can either be willfully ignorant,
right,
or we can just be ignorant and grow from that ignorance and become educated. Because as you both said, if you learn that something's offensive and you choose, hey, that's funny, I'm still going to tell it, that's being willfully ignorant and hurtful. You're not growing from it.
Yeah. And then how funny the joke is, or how far I think leeway we give people, is how much is that a personal story. Like Jacoby, you giving the example of, I can tell a black joke, but Kara might not. Like, are you talking about, are you part of that story, or are you just outside looking in? Are you telling that story as in, this really is funny and this really is a personal story? Or is it out of, I'm making fun, I'm pointing fun, I'm purposely alienating this community or these people? So yeah. And Kara, when I was in the 5th grade, somebody called me a virgin, and I was like, stop calling me that. I am not a virgin. Stop it. I had no idea what a virgin was. I just thought he was calling me names.
Stop calling me. No. What are you talking about? I love it though, because people will say, kids will say things, and you just think it's offensive. You're like, no, I'm not that. And yeah, I love it. That is cute.
Not a virgin in 5th grade. No way, Jose. Not me. Chris Hilliard, Eno Valley Elementary School. I still remember. Yep.
Oh, calling you out.
Oh, Lord. I just wait till I tell Mama.
That's funny.
I'm reading all these comments and I love it. Also, shout out to #NewBestie Tim Stone. I think he's watching. So shout out to him.
Yeah, and you just saw what Brandon said. Brandon actually brought up a great point about exactly what you guys are talking about, by the way. LGBT folk have taken the hit for decades from queer coding in Disney. We can laugh at ourselves for a good joke. It's when you target us for stereotypes that is when it gets tough.
Brandon came with something else.
Oh, yeah. This is what else he said. Parents will say, I'm anti-LGBT education, but will ask their niece, do you have a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Interesting questions that were asked there and everything. Definitely folks who've got different attitudes, and definitely we've got to try to get them on a better plane and everything. I was actually curious, and it comes back to what I was asking about soap operas and things along those lines. And you may know this better since it is the Gamer's Den, but how are we doing in terms of addressing gender identity in or should we even address it in our children's books and our comic books and things of that nature? Because a lot of times these things have to be addressed and dealt with at a young age. And I know you were joking earlier about what you were calling yourself in the 5th grade and everything, or not calling yourself, but how much of that should we be having in children's books? Because some people would argue that we probably need to have these conversations even in whatever the modern equivalent is of Dr. Seuss and everything. But I don't know whether folks think that we need to even be having discussions around the LGBTI plus community, even within our children's literature.
Well, it's done in a way usually with children's books. Sorry, it's done in a way with children's books where it just seems like it's very normal, and it's not giving like it's not making it a big deal. Like I just googled, and there's one called "And Tango Makes Three," and I'm assuming that it's a penguin family, and there are two penguin moms, and then there's like a baby penguin.
Hmm.
And so I think if it's just kind of done in a way where it's just like this is just life, kids pick up that because they're like, oh well, this is life, not. And then people seeing these books, like parents seeing these books, know that it's not indoctrinating your kids. It's just providing them another look at life. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Love you all.
I mean, Kara, what you said, I completely agree with. I mean, it doesn't need to be, hey, this, hey, let's focus on that. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The more normal you make it, and not the key defining characteristic that, hey, those are gay people, like gay people. That's not really helping. You just got to make the individuals normal, and the kids pick up. Okay, well, it's just fine. Like Sesame Street does a phenomenal job with all of their stuff with kids. They introduced an autistic Muppet monster. I think they actually do have a character who is homosexual. I can't remember if Abby Cadabby could be gender fluid, but either way, Sesame Street does a phenomenal job, and they do it the right way. It's not all about, hey, you got to. No, when they introduced the character with autism, they had the show, and it was, hey, we're going to learn about this character, not being the defining characteristic about her being autistic. It was just, hey, what does she like? What does she not like? What does she do? What does she not do? Let's play. Let's have fun. We're learning with her. Same thing they did with an individual who was homeless. I remember they just not Oscar the Grouch, who's always been homeless. He lives in a garbage can, but there was another one that they introduced. So stuff like that. That's things around this issue should be introduced to children, but not in some super obvious, because it turns kids off. Just, hey, this is normal.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what Brandon was saying about representation being important. Absolutely. I agree. And it sounds like I need to catch up with Sesame Street. It sounds like they're doing a fantastic job.
Sesame Street is awesome.
Yeah, they've been holding it down. I remember my days with Sesame Street. And one thing that also Sesame Street does, which I will agree that should accompany, not even accompany, precede any type of conversation about sexuality, people, differences, is going back to the conversation about compassion. Let's teach just how to be good humans and how to see you as me, and however, and then still recognize differences, or as we teach the beautiful differences that do exist within our society. But I think the easiest way, is exactly what you both said. And just in terms of, hey, here it is in a book. This is an example, just like a mom and dad who's a cis-born male and female mom and dad. So the more that can be introduced in a way that is just as normal and just as loving, I think is awesome and needed.
I mean, even just behind the whole notion of, oh, so this character is represented in this way, I identify with a lot of what the character is going through. Wow, maybe I feel like I'm more of a gay person or a lesbian person, or maybe I do feel more like bisexual. Going back to the fact that, I guess in my own journey, like not even knowing what that was and then understanding more. So like, how much time could that save with so many other people just saying like, oh, wow, that really resonates with me. Maybe I want to explore this more, especially going with that autistic Sesame Street character. I don't know like what that episode was about or who that, like how that character is presented, but I can only imagine let's say they presented it in a way where the character had a lot of sensory issues, and then the child watching or someone watching was like, wow, I or someone I know has a lot of sensory issues. Maybe I should look into this. It's just, in a lot of ways, I can just be life saving and at the very least, confidence saving. Yeah, Nivex, wait, there are more people like that?
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely.
Or
I'm
I'm
ex-
that person? Yeah. Nivex.
And in addition to that, however you explore, because what you feel in the third grade might be something completely different of how you feel when you're 30. But in that exploration, there is no shame in exploring. There's no shame in feeling. There's none of that associated with it, because now in this beautiful school that we have created on this show, everything is uplifted or seen as in representation.
Yeah.
Yep, no doubt about it. And speaking of uplifting, if Toby doesn't mind, I'm about to do a shameless plug for a friend of mine and everything. But actually, I am helping a friend of mine, Crystal Austin, who is doing an event for autism. She's actually starting an organization called Real Life Works, where she will be putting people to work that are autistic at the thrift store. And there will be a fundraiser on July 9th in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Longview Brewing Concerns to raise money for her getting this thrift store that will help autistic people. And I am actually one of the people helping put that event on. That's why I said it was a shameless plug and all of that. But it's definitely going to help people involved in autism. And somebody that Jatovi knows, Reese Palmer, will be the one providing the music for that event. So Reese Palmer, a neo-soul, neo-country singer, will be the one that will be out there. So she's come out of that neo-country vibe, and she'll be the one providing the music for the event.
Nice.
Look at there.
Soul.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Neo country, as in neo soul, but not soul.
Yeah, exactly. She's more of a country musician. Some of her songs actually revolve around the fact that she grew up as a country musician and has that country roots, but she's an African American woman, so it's more neo country than neo soul.
Wow. And what's her name again?
Reese Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
Reese Palmer. I have to write that down.
I'm Googling her.
There. So this is the shameless plug time. I guess I can say my shameless plug is I have to post a link for people to donate because now I'm part of Real Men Wear Pink. It's basically an association, or it's a small part of the American Cancer Society trying to fight against breast cancer. So they asked me to join. So I'm post a link about ways for people to donate because I'm trying to raise $2,500.
Right.
And then I'm trying to. I heard Gamers Against Cancer got to do that as well. So yeah, look there.
That's great.
Big things.
Nice.
Any shameless plugs for yourself, Kenora?
Oh,
Sorry.
You just jumped on Kara.
I did not realize she was talking at that time, but my fault. So I'm backing off.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, if anyone wants to Google Reese Palmer, her name is spelled R-I-S-S-I. Not the candy bar, or not the candy, but R-I-S-S-I.
That is correct.
Sorry. That's all I wanted to say.
That is an important distinction because that is not how I spelled it in my notes to look her up afterwards. So.
Yeah, I just had this sudden hankering for Reese cups, and then I was like, oh, that's not it.
Mm.
So any shameless plugs for you, Janora?
Shameless plugs on my end. Let's see. I am on hiatus from another podcast that I'm on called This Week in BPS. We'll start back up in August. Jatovi was actually a guest on there. I think it was our last episode of the season. No, yeah. Second to last episode of the season, you were our special guest. That's right, because the next week was you started the bull season. So that's one thing.
You need to bring Abdul on because this was part of that conversation.
Oh, let me have June. Let me celebrate Pride with you all, and then I will give you Abdul. But yeah, I do it with Abdul Majid, who's a writer out here. Well, he lives in Florida, but he does a lot of Hollywood writing and Christy Ferris, who is an actress. We do something every Wednesday. And like I said, we'll start back in August. We might do some fun stuff this summer just to kind of stay relevant. Something that is not part of my acting voiceover artist life that I'm super excited about is, since it's my anniversary, my wife and I have a company together. We have a company called Cashmere and Gold Entertainment, where she is the DJ and I am the MC. We do weddings. We did some stuff virtually during COVID. We do backyard barbecues. We do any kind of event where you need some folks to liven it up. We do that. So we're excited about live events coming back again. So if you need somebody in the Southern California area, then look us up, cashmereandgold.com. But the other thing that we do, and this is what I'm excited about, because we recently bought a Duffy boat. A Duffy boat is an electric boat. Yes, Jacoby's last name and my last name is McDuffie. So this boat purchase.
Duffy boat.
Yeah, well, if I didn't co-own it with the wife, I might be able to get away with that. But since it's ours together, it's one of those electric boats that's kind of like covered and you just drink wine and laugh with your friends. Well, we have one of those. And it's parked in the Shoreline Marina area of Long Beach, California. I'm just going to randomly do some tours, just get folks to come and do tours. In addition to that, I'm going to lead a wine tasting experience where I showcase women winemakers, and my wife is going to lead a cigar smoking experience. My wife smokes a mean cigar, and if you want to learn how to smoke or learn about just cigars in general, those are two different experiences that we offer. And we're excited to start to kick things off now that the weather's getting warm and folks are coming out the house and folks are vaccinated. So super excited. Find out more about that at cashmereandgold.com. And in terms of where to follow me individually, I am J at J McDeezie, JMCDEEZIE. There's also a link to that. And my wife, this is a long ass soliloquy I'm giving here, so I apologize, but I'm gonna blame Mark for that lead up.
Hold on, before you jump to Layla, did you guys name that boat yet?
No, it's still Cashmere and Gold, and on the back it's sitting on my duff. But I'm bummed. But that's what we bought it, and that's what it said when we bought it. But my wife is a cop. She works LAPD, and I am an actress. So this whole business together is something completely different than what we normally do. And we're really excited to have something together that, it's just about having fun and getting folks outside and enjoying life.
And speaking of wine, and coming back to the network and everything, there is a show here on the network that is done by the Shoe Crazy folks, and that is a female-owned wine company, African American women. So I need to put them in touch with you, but they air every Friday evening. I forget the exact time, but they air every Friday evening, and that is Gwen Hurt and her daughter. Apparently, she came out of corporate America, was involved in a car accident several years back, and wanted to go in, find a new direction in life. So her and her daughter found things that they had in common, things that they had a passion for, and two things were wines and shoes. So they named the company Shoe Crazy, and it is based out of Richmond, if I'm remembering correctly. But it is definitely part of the network, and they are part of the family here. So they are always looking for new opportunities in the winemaking space. So I need to put the two of y'all together.
I think that's awesome. And I would love to specifically showcase like the mom and pop, like the small woman in her own fields, instead of, just going to the grocery store and grabbing one off the shelf that we all might know. So I'd love to shine the light on some smaller ladies who are up and coming.
Yeah.
No doubt about that and everything. So they are definitely up and coming. I know it's Pride Week, but we just, in about 2 hours, there's going to be a major event that's going on as well. And you alluded to it earlier, Jacoby, which is Juneteenth. There's actually a federal holiday. We are now a federal holiday, and Biden is going to sign that into law. I think it's at 3:30. He will actually be making speeches and everything. It is actually the 12th federal holiday, if I'm remembering correctly. So It is the newest one since Martin Luther King Day, which was brought in by Reagan. So it is the newest federal holiday. Juneteenth is now an official holiday, and Biden at about 2 hours from now, we'll be making that official and everything by signing the proclamation, and also him and Kamala will be having a remarks about this historic landmark day.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. I'm so happy it passed. I was a little worried that it was not. So I'm so happy it passed.
Yeah. I mean, there were people that voted against it.
Yes, there were.
Why, of course.
I mean, it just doesn't, you know. And those are those same people that are putting up those bills in state legislatures all across the country.
Yeah, it's some of those same folks and everything. That was some of the big issues. If I could just have a moment of levity and lightness and everything, y'all do realize that there was a fisherman, and this even comes back to video games and everything, that supposedly, and it's been reported by several news sources, had a Jonas in the whale moment. So apparently there was a fisherman in Cape Cod who was supposedly, at least for a minute, swallowed by a whale. And it's actually been reported in a couple of news items and everything that he was swallowed by a whale, lived to tell the tale and actually share about what he did in that regard. So this happened apparently in Cape Cod. So it happened around this, North America and everything. And apparently he is recovering from the serious injuries after he spent nearly a minute in the gnaw, or basically in the jaw of a humpback whale who mistook him for a snack. So he was out there, and the whale thought that he was a bag of potato chips or something, to use our kind of human analogies and everything. But the whale swallowed him for a minute, and he is now surviving.
Well, I got a bad joke.
Go for it. You are the comedian in the house. Go for it.
I mean, no, that's a bad joke. It's a bad joke. It's a bad joke. I mean, just saying a whale swallowed a seaman.
Oh,
boo. Oh, that was bad.
That was bad.
That was very bad. But apparently he was in the whale's mouth.
Cancel, Janora.
Cancel that. But apparently he was in the whale's mouth for a whopping, notice I said whopping, 30 to 40 seconds, and then he was spit out. So maybe he tasted bad. So the whale was like,
we're done.
So does
it's still going down the same road, but the whale didn't swallow.
Jacoby.
We're done.
Does he have an account? Like, what is his story about? Like, what happened? Was it just dark? Was it like, was he hurt? Did he see other fish in the stomach? Like, I'm still confused.
Well, this is what he said according to the articles I'm seeing from one of the local hospitals. He said, "I realized I'm in a whale's mouth and he's trying to swallow me." A shaken sound in Michael Packard told a WBC reporter outside of the hospital a few hours after the incident, according to the TV station. "I thought to myself, hey, this is it. I'm going to die." But happily, his physical recovery seemed to be going swimmingly. His mother said he was recovering in a local hospital and had been pretty much doped up to attend to his myriad bumps and bruises, but that he's doing pretty well, all things considered. Medical personnel had suspected he had broken at least one of his legs, but it appears he escaped even that. And apparently he doesn't have any broken bones, and he's terribly fortunate, according to what folks are saying about what happened. But apparently he was there in the whale's mouth, and they're saying that he may well be the luckiest man alive. And they were even making it similar to the popular Final Destination movies.
But I was going to say, it wasn't his time.
Yeah. I mean, he made it out.
Apparently he's ducked a couple of times, because according to the New York Post, Packer was also nearly killed in 2001 when a plane he was on reportedly crashed in Costa Rica, killing 3 other people on board. And the plane went down on November 29th, 2001, while flying from the capital of San Jose to the fishing village of Puerto Jimenez, the Cape Cod Times reported at the time. So, and they did say he suffered several facial injuries and multiple long bones in his arms and legs. And that's when he had that other injury and everything. So apparently he's ducked a couple of times. So apparently he's had a couple of times where he is ducked and avoided his time, once in 2001, and now we're in 2021. So it just means that every 20 years he's got to go through this. So this could be a serious, like speaking of games, this could be almost like a serious game or a movie theme if you're going to sit there and go for that kind of experience once every 20 years.
Stay home and pick up a hobby. That's not potentially dangerous. I don't know, read, drink wine.
Oh, and now Navex, I'm gonna let Jacoby keep his show. He can have it, and he's not quite canceled. He'll get the side eye for the semen joke, but if he added some other explicitives, maybe.
I kept it clean.
But you kept it PG as much as yeah, you kept it clean.
But we're still traumatized.
Yes, Kara and I are still traumatized. In fact, I'm so traumatized, I think I gotta go. I actually do have to run. So for me, let me tell you about my day, or like how things work in this area, and why I do have to jump. So now that things are, during the pandemic, one story at a time. See, it's that wine from last night still trying to creep up and like hate on my story, on my talking. What I'm trying to say is during COVID, a lot of my voiceover work you have to have your own studio. So one thing about my place with my wife, we have like a very open concept. It's like a loft type concept, which means there are no walls. We have one closet. So I can't build anything permanent. So I have a pop-up soundproof studio quality voiceover booth. So I put that up and do my voiceover audition. So things since COVID haven't changed. So all my auditions are still at home. And even the things that I've booked, I've learned how to do enough with my computer and my internet to record quality from home. So I've had some really cool video game auditions that I can't tell you about. My dream is to do an animated cartoon. That's redundant, but my dream, Bennett, who is Jacoby's son, loves Peppa Pig. So my dream is to be on a cartoon that my nephew loves to watch. So I'm working hard on that. So I've got to sneak away. I've got a 12 o'clock deadline for a couple of auditions that I gotta get in the can. But I really appreciate you letting me come back for Pride Month. There's one more Thursday during Pride Month. So if you let me join you next week, I would just be so honored to kick it with you guys and your guests and viewers again as we wrap up this beautiful occasion and celebration of all people.
Janora, two things. One is I have a minor request, and Jacoby doesn't even know that I'm going to ask this request, but I know that the last day of, in terms of Thursdays for Pride Month is June 24th. The following week is July 1st. It's not a milestone one because it ends in an odd number. And I guess I will still be joining it, the show and everything. That is actually my birthday. So can I have you back on July 1st as well? So can I have you on the show on July 1st on my birthday day as well? So
I might not be able to promise the whole show, but I will check in at least for a little while to say happy birthday to my fellow Cancerian. My birthday is July 8th.
Really?
Oh, be later.
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
Right after March.
I am not doing my birthday on the show, and it's only because I love Mark. No, and I love Kara too, and Jacoby. You're cool too. I love my brother too. I will. It's so great that you let me pop in and be part of the family, the gamer, and on the couch of the gamers den these last few Thursdays.
The only afterthought.
I'm sorry. Say that again, Kara.
Toby's the only afterthought. You thought of Mark and I.
Still the third child.
No. Jacoby knows he is so loved and appreciated by me. Again, it is Pride Month, and I shout out the praises to my brother all the time. He has always been such a fierce ally for me and Layla. Even when it was just a whisper that I was dating a woman, like Jacoby just embraced us with open arms. And I will always be appreciative of you for that, Jacoby. And like I said, his kids were in the wedding and Jacoby played a big part. So he is my big brother that I always love. But you can't say that. You got to like throw him at the end, to kind of hide the true feelings. That's like, punching the guy or girl you really like. That's brother, sister stuff that we do. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But all right, I gotta jump so I can go book some stuff so I can have some more things to share during my little plug time. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of the show. And I'll see you next Thursday for the last week of Pride Month.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay. Bye, you guys. Bye, Jacoby. Bye,
Right,
Mark.
yeah.
Bye, Kara. Oh, and
See.
I'm gonna try that three-way skyline chili. That sounds awesome.
You have to visit.
I will.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. To tell me, she actually brought up something interesting, which I know is going on and everything, both there in California is going on here. I actually just had a phone conversation with one of our festival organizers. So we are seeing things open up more and more. I know that, of course, you've been working the Bulls games. I just found out that the Eno River Festival, which is at a state park here in North Carolina, will be taking place live. So it will actually have 2 live days. It will be 1 virtual day, but at least 2 of the days will be live. But like what y'all are doing, they're going to do partial crowd. So like I said, I think usually there's somewhere between 15 to 20,000 people roughly that are out there, but they're going to cut it at around 7,000. And I think that y'all might be at half house as well at the Bulls right now. I don't know whether you're at full house or not.
We're at full capacity.
You're at full capacity?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely we are seeing more and more things opening up, some at half capacity, some at full capacity. So I just didn't know what folks thought about the fact that as more and more are getting vaccinated, we're seeing society open up. So including, I'm imagining there might even be some live Pride events that are going on this week as well. I know there's a couple of live Juneteenth events, but I haven't heard quite about the Pride events, even though the Beaver pageant is going to be virtual for the 2nd year in a row. I think they're in their 2nd or 3rd week, and the winner should be announced, I want to say this weekend, but that is a Pride related event, but I haven't heard whether they're going to be in the other events.
So, like, I guess it just depends on the area. Like here, we are not. Last thing I've heard is, and I could be wrong, maybe it is on, but last thing I've heard is we're not having a Pride parade this month or this year in Cincinnati, but we have Pride events going on in the bars. So like there's small stuff, which is good, but not the actual Pride parade. But if anyone has information of otherwise, let me know. But I also think like people are trying to ease back into it. For me, I've noticed that if I'm around people I haven't been around in over a year, like I get panicky. Like my body literally starts panicking, and it's just kind of easing it back in, even though I'm vaccinated. It's just the whole, we've not been able to this whole time, are we safe? Are we all good? And so I like that there are events, yes. And, but people are kind of easing back into it.
Yeah, it is a little scary because you're having to trust a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that they're vaccinated, not just taking off their mask because they're tired of the mask. I know society itself, yeah, we're all tired of wearing it, but we still have to be safe. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
Good.
And
Definitely.
I have some friends who actually had the vaccination. They're fully vaccinated, and they still contracted COVID, and they were really sick. So the moral of the story is you don't die from COVID with the vaccine, so it's like it prevents death, but guys, there still is that element of you could possibly, maybe not always, like there aren't a lot of stories of people getting sick after being fully vaccinated for a while, but it does happen. And so it's like, just take care of your body, nourish it, stay healthy immunity wise anyways. And yeah, just don't be stupid. If you're not vaccinated too, like you have an even greater risk of just getting it and having complications. So just be careful, everyone. Vaccinations don't give you a free pass for everything. Just just be careful, stay safe, and be healthy.
Very true. By the way, I did find a very fun game for everybody, which is kind of off topic. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
No,
What's the game?
so we're on this show called The Gamers Den, where sometimes we talk about video games.
So it's Bomberman. I don't know if you guys know about Bomberman.
It's who it, man?
Bomberman. It's actually a really cool game. It's an older puzzle game, but they
I
redid
like
it.
puzzle games.
Yep. So all you're doing is dropping bombs to try and blow up the other people, but they set it into. Oh, hey, Nivik said actually something we can talk about as well. Sorry, the Bomberman and this comment just came in, so this was actually a great comment. Nivik says, I live alone and have been WFH for the past year and a half. Just the thought of going out causes a bit of anxiety.
And that's very normal.
Yep.
Like if you find yourself just super panicky and it hits you out of nowhere, like that's okay. And thank you, Nivex, for saying that. Just kind of work through it. Deep breathe. Just take some deep breaths and identify what you can control. And do the best you can. Also sometimes we get extra panicky if we don't take care of ourselves, like sleep enough or eat enough or whatever. And so I love that, you recognize that it does cause anxiety, but just focusing on what you can control and just deep breathing is so good. So go you, Nivex.
But what Nivik just said brought up another interesting point, and I'd love to hear what both Jacoby and Kara have to say about this, which is the fact of as though we've become more confined, we've also become more global because we've definitely developed new friendships that are around the world, people that we might not have been in touch with as much. And that's even why some people don't want to necessarily go back into their work environments. We were talking about the work environments earlier within the LGBTI community, and some people are like, no, I'm perfectly content working from my home because I've gotten used to working from the home. Don't necessarily want to go back into that office environment. In some cases, they might even find the office environment toxic in some ways or another. So they've gotten used to that, and they're also seeing that they can communicate with their global peers that might be in, say, Japan or Australia or Scotland or wherever and everything. So I was just wondering folks' thoughts about the new normal and how it's even going into a even newer normal as we're coming out of this pandemic.
I mean, that would be more so a question for Kara because that's her line of work. But I would say that the new normal, in a sense, is healthy because we work too hard as a country. There are no breaks. Other countries have, 6 months to a year on maternity leave and stuff like that. And no, after you have a baby, you better go back to work 2 weeks afterwards. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But Kara, take it away.
Please.
Yeah, it's grabbing with what resonates with you. I love that despite the pandemic being a weird cluster of what the hell is going on, it's another possibility of things that have happened that you can take or leave. So if you find yourself at the ability to work from home and you like it, then great. If you work from home and then you come back to the office and you realize, oh my gosh, why do I work here again? Then that's kind of a sign of like, well, what do I want to do? What job do I want to, what would make me happy? so many businesses started in the last year, especially Black-owned businesses, which is amazing. And so I love the fact that, people, a lot of people have decided, including myself, it's like, hey, let's just make sense of what we have in front of us. And also, if you like the new normal and then you miss things like going out and dancing, like go out and dance, enjoy yourself, have fun, ease into it, don't freak out. Like when you find yourself freaking out about it, just be like, well, what does make me feel comfortable? So it's just, we just are at this amazingly interesting stage where we can just, like, I liked this before and I like this now. Let's combine this and kind of make my life meaningful overall.
Yep. And one of the cool things I think is something that you had said, Mark, about finding the work environment toxic.
Mm-hmm.
You can find your pod of people online sometimes and just hang out with those people, and you feel safe. But then go into that work environment where person A hates who I like, or person B is always taking my food. I'm happy at home.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
you're right.
the same parallel with video games too? You don't really like the environment of whatever, but you go and you play your video game after hours after work, and you get to include yourself with a group of people who are your people, and you can feel safe in that.
Yes, there was on that note, there was an article. I wonder if I can find it. That talked about individuals that play Fortnite in the co-op environment have great social skills. If I can find it, it was a great article on there.
That's good. My brother plays EQ, and he's still working on it.
Yeah, it says player communication in Fortnite can be good for social skills development. In Fortnite, players chat with their partners or squads as they try to win. This can have positives for kids who struggle to connect with other kids. It gives reasons to talk about strategy and find common ground with peers.
So that is awesome. My brother, he plays EQ, and I guess the people on like that he plays with, they were trying to develop some type of strategy. So he's like, oh, hey, I can do this for you or for us or whoever. And he built this little program to help this person on EQ. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but he like built something for someone for EQ. And I thought that was really cool. Like, aw.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is what gaming is, but a lot of people just don't realize games have such a such a great positive. Oh, I just died, man! They got me.
They got you. How dare they? Speaking of them getting you, and speaking of Fortnite, I just saw an article that involved Fortnite, and it wasn't the best article, but I'm gonna throw it out the article, and then you tell me what you think. But apparently, they're offering a prize for creating something, and some people are thinking that as much money as Fortnite makes, they're not offering enough. So yesterday, apparently, and let me see whether that was yesterday is in Wednesday or whether that was yesterday as in a few days ago. It looks like it was it was reported yesterday, so it's probably back in Tuesday. So Tuesday, Fortnite announced a concept royale competition. Players can submit skin ideas, and two winners will have their concepts turned to an in-game outfits in the Fortnite, and will also each receive a $2,500 cash prize. And what the article says, at first glance, it doesn't look like a bad deal, but 2.5 2 well, $2,500 for a design developer that Epic can then use in perpetuity. doesn't seem to be fair to that winner, is what the article is implying. And like I said, it's from a video online magazine called Kotaku or something like that. So they were feeling that they maybe needed to put out some more money. But I don't know what your thoughts are as one that actually sometimes even creates some of these ideas. Because, in the mid 2020, they were making the fact that Epic Games was valued at 17.3 billion, and data from the recent Epic versus Apple trial revealed that Fortnite made over 9 billion across 2018 and 2019. So it sounds like there's some folks that are saying, look, can't y'all come up with a better price?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little sad that that what was it, 25 with 2,500 bucks?
$2,500.
Yeah, and they made $400 million in 1 month. Yeah, it stinks. It is bad because they will make a ton of money off of that. Nivik says cash prize plus royalties. Does it have royalties listed with it, or is it just the cash prize?
It just says cash prize on the article I'm reading, so maybe Nivik knows something more than I don't know and everything. And that's what said. That's why we do the story here to bring it out. And if it's got royalties, that hopefully will at least make it a little bit better. Because
but if it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good. There are goods and bads with it. Goods in the fact that even if it's at $2,500 and they take your skin and put it into a game, you can actually get recognized for that, even though you're not getting money from it. So another developer could say, okay, well, you created this skin. That's pretty awesome. I want to go ahead and hire you as as an artist on my next game. So there are goods and bads with it, but the problem is, again, is the amount of money that they're putting out does seem rather low.
Yeah, I would think it seems low. And just to add, and maybe Nivix can add what he's heard, but as I'm reading this article, it says even if the outfits are free, the event will certainly attract players who might spend money on other items in the game shop. That 2,500 might seem like a great windfall as a contest prize, but when you consider that it's basically glitched up spec work, and you think about the money that Epic could make when, as per the contest rule, participants are given it free reign to do what it likes with their designs, things start to feel a lot less lucrative. And they were saying that one player on Reddit wrote, this seems like it's intended for them to pay for cheap labor and have ownership and profits of a skin. And apparently they have a rocky history, including with African American creators, which I did not know. But it says that early in Battle Royale's life, it attracted ire for seeming to steal dances from their creators, in particular the works of African American creators. So I guess there was like some dance moves among the skins, would be my guess, and everything. And they might have been from some of the African American creators of things along those lines. So definitely it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
So they did steal no bones about it. Epic wants to make money, and the best way to make money is to try and keep up with the times. What Epic did do, they did steal a couple of skins, which is the outfits and everything else, as well as the floss, which was the backpack kids dance, along with the Carlton dance. They stole that one. There were just some that they placed in the game. I mean, I guess creative license is what they went with. But either way, that's all part of the games.
But isn't that one of the oldest arguments? Because, both me and Kara have friends in the music and other entertainment industries. And that's one of the oldest games out there, is for them to tell you that this exposure is going to be great for you and that's going to make you the success that you want to be and all of that. But as Nivix put it, you can't eat exposure. You can't,
you can't eat exposure.
Can't survive off of exposure.
You don't know my friends, Merkley.
What did you say?
But no, I mean it's reminiscent of internships. Especially in the fashion industry and other industries, like even ESPN, where it's like, oh, just be grateful that you're even in this position and you're getting limited edition bagels for some designer you know, like, yeah, it's crazy, right? Just the whole notion of you should just be grateful. It does
Yep.
feel reminiscent of that. I mean, maybe if they add in an extra zero to the prize, but plus royalties, then
But
they could
that,
just up the amazingness of the skins too. I don't know. It does.
yeah,
It
it
feels
just
very reminiscent of like fashion industry and like
but that
journalistic internships.
what they're doing is exactly what you're talking about, the fashion internships or the fashion area, the fashion arena, any art arena you can think about. Matter of fact, any tech arena that you can think about. Um, you have so you have on Google when they first dropped Wi-Fi hotspots. Well, Apple found that out to be a very profitable piece, so Apple did the same thing, but named it something else. You had Siri being copied by Samsung with Bixby, and you have Google Assistant, which is fully automated. So you have, for example, uh, there were different technological companies that were out there from like YouTube wasn't Google to start. It was purchased by Google. Um, there are Motorola stuff to make their phones. When Motorola went under, you have different companies that bought different licenses to purchase their phones or purchase just the license from Motorola so they can say that I didn't really copy this. This is what we designed. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it sucks, but that's
That's the nature of the business, apparently, but also the nature of the business. I'm imagining that you would have been at this if we had not been in the middle of the pandemic. Is the fact that there are conferences around the whole video game industry, and apparently there was one of those that was going on as well. It was apparently on Tuesday. Nintendo hosted Nintendo Direct live stream during the Electronic Entertainment Expo. So I'm thinking that that's something that you probably might have been at. Well, you also have your Bulls and other obligations, so maybe not, but you might have gone to
what are
it
you talking
if
about?
we weren't in the middle of a pandemic. And they've apparently revealed several games coming to the company's popular video game console. So
Yes.
among them is a sequel to Legend of Zelda. So
Yep.
Breath of the Wild is slated for 2022, and a new Metroid game called Metroid Dread is arriving
Yep.
later this year. But they were thinking that there was going to be rumors of an updated Nintendo Switch, which would reportedly include 4K support and an improved screen, but they haven't come up with that yet. So there, I guess that'll be revealed later or later on this year and everything. But it does look like there's still conferences and the video game industry is still doing new things. And I want to
Yeah.
say that was
E3.
one of the games that Kara did know was Legend of Zelda, if I remember correctly. But if I'm wrong, correct me.
So
Yeah, no, you're right. Also, I want to loop around to Metroid. Isn't that the one where the main character was a man until the end? It was revealed the character was actually a woman, and then
yep.
everyone went crazy. So that'll be interesting to see like what they come up with in the new game. I'm very interested in that actually.
So Metro, I mean, E3 is what just happened, and that's what people are super excited about. What in the world? How did I get blown up?
Mhm.
But yes, E3 just happened. That's where all the announcements came from.
Right.
And there's just a ton happening with Nintendo. The new guy from Smash Brothers who got released is Kazuya from Tekken. So he's a huge character. People are excited. Well, some people are excited about. I'm excited about it because it'd be kind of cool to have Street Fighter versus Tekken in the middle of Smash Brothers. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But yes, Metroid is the one that has the female character who people did not know until the end was a female character.
That's pretty amazing.
Yep.
It's like the movie Victor Victoria. Julie Andrews is a woman who plays a man who plays a woman who plays a man, and James Garner falls in love with this person who he thinks is a man, and then he feels weird or he has these interesting feelings, And then, but I don't like that, you know, he was relieved that she was a woman at the end of the movie, anyways. But, anyways, I don't know. I'm just rambling, but I'm just weird connections in my brain of Victor, Victoria, and then Metroid. I don't know. He's like, I'm a woman, and a man, and a woman playing a man. I don't know. I like the gender fluidity.
But yeah, the new Metroid looks to be cool. The new Legend of Zelda looks to be phenomenal because Breath of the Wild was such a fun game. Oh, it is.
Also, probably looking at our screen, going like, "Why has Mark got that puzzle look on his face?" And part of it is that I'm sitting there going like, apparently one of the other things announced was an Xbox that can store Mountain Dew. So
So
apparently they
that,
come up with a mini refrigerator that looked like an Xbox Series X
yes,
console.
it's the Xbox fridge. That came out of a joke because when the Xbox Series X came out and people saw it, you have the PS5 that is this futuristic look. Looks it's huge. I'm not huge on the way. I'm not big on the way that the PS5 looks. It's odd to me. However, the Xbox came out and it was this boring looking black box. And people joked and said that it looked like a refrigerator. So then there was a Twitter, not really a Twitter war, but there was a Twitter survey on, and somebody had actually made a Xbox fridge off, and it was a joke about it, and they made it. And then there was a Twitter thing about Twitter stuff because there was a pretzel. I think pretzel was another survey that was on there. I cannot remember the full survey. However, in there, the Xbox Series X fridge or the Xbox fridge won that Twitter survey. And so Microsoft this year is actually legitimately making the Xbox Series X fridge. And yes, it has Mountain Dew in it and part of the commercial. I actually want it. I think it looks funky. It's got a purpose behind it. It's not just the Xbox sitting on the side. No, it looks cool. So yeah, that's a big thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, that did look interesting. And then I know we talked about it before on the show, but we've talked about, and maybe you can explain it again because I still don't understand what they are. But NFTs have become a fixture in video games, and at least one publisher, Mythical Games, is betting on it. So they've got some big names, including Luxier, Clothier, Burberry, and DJ Deadmau 5, ready to create high-tech playable collections in its new online multiplayer game called Blanco's Block Party. So apparently it's a colorful art-filled open world game where you can explore an ever-growing variety of racing, tag, collection, and shooting levels, build your own level, and create competitive mini parties with friends. You know, those mini parties are important.
Yeah, the NFTs are technically have been a part of gaming forever because you play a game and you can buy stuff within the game. But yes, Nintendo has I think their NFT coming. Is either the NFT or Bitcoin, whatever it is. Yeah, it's just more ways to make money. More ways to make money. That's all it is.
Always good to kind of ways to make money. And I'm glad to find out that there's even news about old-fashioned games because one of the world's most popular games, and it's a game that my family plays sometimes, is Scrabble. But apparently they found a way to make it even more challenging. So they've come up with something called word. So it's being labeled the most challenging and strategic word game. And both games begin with players randomly choosing 7 tiles hidden from view. And the Scrabble players, certain rules, but apparently this is making it more difficult. So this is a way to make Scrabble more difficult. So there's a whole bunch of explanations of the way that they do that and everything. And I don't know if I'm going to get to explain it all, but it does look like it's a more complicated version of Scrabble. So it's like
What's the name of it again?
they have like 3 levels, and it seems like it might be almost like a multiple level version of chess, which people remember also happened decades ago. But it sounds like it's definitely a way to make the game more complicated, even though Scrabble as it is already a fun game.
But what's the name of the game?
It is called. I will tell you in a sec. Upwards,
Upwards.
upwards, and words.
Okay. I think it.
Upwards.
Oh, it ran away. I think I played that before though. That's been
Okay.
out for a little bit, hasn't it?
It looks like it's been out for a minute or something, but they're saying it has
Yeah.
made travel more
No,
complicated.
they trapped me. And I
There was
walked
a
in.
news story about it on June 12th of this year. So
Okay.
maybe it was just a review of the game.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, there are tons of word games out there. I'm still curious why I haven't even played the math game. The what's that 2045 or 2015?
Um, Me and Math are all right. I mean, we're not the best of friends, but me and Math are all right. And if you try to get me, just to let you, Toby and Kara know, if y'all try to get me to play any games that involve foreign language, that ain't happening. That was my Achilles heel in high school and college. So, like I said, Math, I might be able to figure that out. And I know you've mentioned it to me a couple of times, so I might go play it. But if you got any games that involve foreign language, be that French, Spanish, or Swahili, they ain't happening.
Swahili,
Go ahead.
Botswanan. You got some Botswanan in there.
Mark's the latest to be on the fritz. First it was Janora having Dory moments, then I was just having random tangents about Victor Victoria. And then Mark is just like, Swahili.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a third language. I took French, I took Spanish, and I actually went to a journalism seminar. I think it was in my junior going to senior year of high school. And I remember that the newspaper was named after a Swahili word. I do not remember what that word was. I just told you I was bad at foreign languages, but I knew it was named after a Swahili word and everything. So that's what made me automatically think of Swahili. And folks, it's supposed to be the universal language of the entire continent of Africa, even though if you ask folks from Nigeria and other places, a lot of them will be like, no, we don't speak that.
Interesting. And since we're coming up closer towards that 2 o'clock hour, a way to wrap it back around, since we're talking about Black folk in Africa. So how I had hinted at the very beginning about the two things. The one we went off and talked about Loki and Pride.
Mhm.
The other thing that I came across to bring it back that dealt with Juneteenth. I was listening to Logic. I don't know if you guys know Logic. Logic's a rapper. He's been around for a little while. I think Logic's pretty cool. He's a good rapper. It was the No Pressure album. And I hadn't listened to the whole No Pressure album before. There were a couple of songs that I listened to, hadn't listened to the whole thing. Got to the end of the Low Pressure album, and there was a song called Orderly Yours or Obediently Yours. And it was a really cool song, and it had a speech on there, and it was phenomenal. Well, I hadn't heard that speech in like years, so it didn't really dawn on me. Then it started clicking in, and it was an Orson Welles speech.
Oh, well.
And it spoke eloquently, and it fit for partially towards Juneteenth because it was Orson Welles, and the speech.
War of the Worlds?
Well, the old Orson, that Orson Welles, yes. He wrote a speech didn't really write a speech. It was a discussion he had on radio, but it was called "To Be Born Free."
Okay.
And I think as something for people to listen to would be not only that song, big shout out to Logic. Hopefully he'll come onto the show. I don't know Logic. It'd be cool. We'll reach out to him, he and Lil John.
Yes. Hey,
Yeah,
Logic.
Johnny.
No, Little John.
Yes. But yeah, that song or that song and that speech were kind of fitting. And Mark, I think you may enjoy it. I don't know if I can. Well, yeah, I could probably play it.
Yeah, you can play it. You see, you can go for it.
I mean, I don't think it would get us hit with anything.
I
I
think
played
you're
a couple of
allowed
YouTubes.
20
Let's go for it.
seconds. You're allowed 20 seconds.
Let's see. Oh, I got to take it off of mute. But yeah, it spoke. It was really. I'm gonna play the speech because I think I can get away with the speech more so than I think we can get away with the song.
Right.
Being
It's all
my
like it's in
liberty.
trouble.
But wonder if
This is Orson Welles. I've spoken these words before, but not on the radio. To be born free is to be born in debt. To live in freedom without fighting slavery is to profiteer. By plane last night, I flew over some parts of our republic where American citizenship is a luxury beyond the means of the majority. I rode comfortably in my plane above a sovereign state or two where fellow countrymen of ours can't vote without the privilege of cash. I bought my breakfast this morning where Negroes may not come except to serve their white brothers. And there I overheard a member of some master race or other tell those who listened that something must be done to suppress the Jews. I have met Southerners who expect and fear a Negro insurrection. I see no purpose in withholding this from general discussion. There may be those within that outcast 10% of the American people who someday will strike back at their oppressors. But to put down that mob, a mob would rise. I'd like to ask, please, who will put down that mob? The scaly dinosaurs of reaction, if indeed they notice what I'm speaking here, will say in their newspapers that I'm a communist. Communists know otherwise. I'm an overpaid movie producer with pleasant reasons to rejoice, and I do, in the wholesome practicability of the profit system. But surely my right to having more than enough is canceled if I don't use that more to help those who have less. My subject today is the question of moral indebtedness. So I'd like to acknowledge here the debt that goes with ownership. I believe, and this has very much to do with my own notion of freedom, I believe I owe the very profit I make to the people I make it from. If this is radicalism, it comes automatically to most of us in show business, it being generally agreed that any public man owes his position to the public. That's what I mean when I say I'm your obedient servant. It's a debt payable in service of the highest efforts of the debtor. The extension of this moral argument insists that no man owns anything outright since he owns it rent-free. A wedding never bought a wife. And the devotion of his child is no man's for the mere begetting. We must each day earn what we own. A healthy man owes to the sick all that he can do for them. An educated man owes to the ignorant all that he can do for them. A free man owes to the world's slaves all that he can do for them. And what is to be done is more, much more than good works, Christmas baskets, bonuses, and tips, and bread and circuses.
I'll let everybody else watch the rest. But as he stated right there, it is so, I mean, that right there itself, we've forgotten as a society. And I think that's, leading into Juneteenth. I think something like that, we have to understand. We have to become educated and educate those that don't understand and don't know. And it's the same thing with gaming and what we do here. We have, and with pride, we are educated in this, and it's up to us to educate others. That is a debt we owe to those who do not know.
Yep. I would definitely agree with you on that. And by the way, as I was listening to that speech, it was a very powerful speech that Orson was given. I was also checking out PC Magazine today, and it was today. It was celebrating that we needed to celebrate Juneteenth by diversifying our gaming perspective. So They were saying that we need to look at ways to diversify the gaming perspective. And they actually mentioned a couple of games, including one that I found to have an interesting storyline. But apparently there's one called, and Momo Pixels, it's called Hair Now. And apparently in this game, you enter the head of an African-American woman who must constantly stop overly curious white hands from disrespecting her boundaries and touching her hair. So Latoya Peterson and Glow Up Games are currently working with Issa Rae to turn the HBO show Insecure itself a examination of women's hood among the African American community into a faithful mobile game. But I was just finding that there would be a fascinating game that, there's that whole thing about good hair, bad hair, and they turn it into a video game of some sort or another.
Yeah, I mean, diversification is huge. As we talked about earlier, it all relates. Representation matters. Representation is extremely important.
Yes, I first of all, I didn't know that Orson Welles was a feminist and abolitionist, and I love that he said, paraphrasing, that you don't owe anyone, but just the just understanding, and I love that. It, like, wow, that was powerful.
That was
It's something that we all really should take into consideration, especially Juneteenth and yeah, for Pride too.
Yeah.
Transgender people in general and people in the LGBTQIA plus community, we don't owe you anything, but it's just if we can all just understand each other and know that, we're not out to get you. I'm not out to make everyone bisexual. I don't have those superpowers, I just, very powerful speech, and I'm glad that you played that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And like I said, that was just only 2 minutes of that speech.
Yeah.
That was incredibly powerful, no doubt about that.
Well, I love you guys, and guess what time it is?
It's time to close the show. Time to close the show. Time to close the show.
Sorry. Not
sorry. Yeah. All right, I guess since we're going to close the show, Kara, what you got? You got to tell everybody.
So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is @deepenedroots health coaching. You can also check out what I do on deepeningyourroots.com. As I've said before, I am kind of taking a little hiatus, but purposefully, because I feel a pulling and a calling to really hone in and expand what I already do. And I'm very excited for the possibilities. So, but I'm always here to listen and talk and communicate and, and all that. So interact with me, Instagram, check me out, deepeningyourroots.com, and of course on Gamersden. So yeah, thank you guys.
Your turn, Mark.
Of course, you can find me on all those social platforms. Definitely on Instagram and on Facebook. Look under Lee Entertainment 62. If you're on YouTube, it's Mr. Blues Radio 62, and all of that. That year of birth is thrown into there on a lot of things. And of course, I am now on Clubhouse as well, where I'm networking with a lot of folks, including some from our gaming community that I'm hoping to bring on to the Gamers Den and all of that. So definitely those are the platforms that I can be found at. And of course, as y'all know, I am a podcaster and a special events person. So of course, you can find my podcast here on this network. And of course, you can also reach out to me for any special events that you may want to do by going to reach me at bluesradio@gmail.com. So if you got an event and you want to talk about how we can make it happen, give me a call and we'll see how we can make those events happen, and know that that's one of the things that I'm involved in. Just finished doing a major event last week, so now I'm trying to catch my breath and all of that. But that's where I'm at, and that's how you can find me. And I'm tossing it over to my good friend Jatovi, who might have a baseball game today, or I don't know because I haven't looked at the schedule.
No baseball game today. I got no baseball game today. I got to dig a hole today because we got a pond happening where the water's pooling in an area. So I got to dig a hole in the backyard.
I mean, you're kind of digging a hole on the show earlier today too.
Very true. Very true. But let me rise up. Rise up.
Where can we find you, Jatovi?
Easy at Bull City GG on Twitch, BCG Esports on YouTube, and Bull City GG on Facebook. Ha ha! Look at there.
Perfect.
Hey, you just sunk down again. What happened there, Jacoby? You had risen up and now you sunk back down.
I'm back in the hole.
Back in the hole again and everything. Before you hit that tape and everything, I did get some good news about something that's going on, and that's the fact that most of the shows, and I'm hoping to do a copy of this one and paste it on there, but at least through my avenues, we are now also on LinkedIn Live because I now have been given the permission to go on LinkedIn Live. So we are also on LinkedIn Live in addition to what you do on Discord.
Oh, perfect.
Nice. I've been trying to get LinkedIn Live, but it never works for me.
That's good. Good. And now we know.
Now we know.
Look at there. Big time. We are making it.
Well, this was an amazing show, as always, Jacoby, but I love that we do all have our perspectives. And shout out to Janora again for just being an amazing presence. You're the best, Janora. So.
Yeah, Janora is truly amazing, and we do miss Siren this time around, but hopefully she'll be back with us next week because we did miss her not being here and lending her insights, but I know that she's always busy and has things going on as well. But hopefully she'll be back with us next week.
Yes. We're going to see you, girl.
All right, I guess we'll close the show out now, and we can all go get something to eat.
Sounds like a plan.
Bye, guys.
See you next week.